Life is an amazing thing. You never know what awaits you around the next corner, and you may never know if you don't move on. I could say that I was fabulously lucky, and I thought so too at first, until I faced the harsh reality and only then realized, what problems do I have? So I found myself in this bar. You know the type, one of those places you feel obligated to be at. It's where the incredibly attractive and successful supposedly converge. Sure enough, they were there. Though they were a minority, they effortlessly commanded the space, mingling freely, embracing other cool people, completely comfortable in their own skin. They seemed to know everyone, were best buddies with everyone, radiating warmth to all, well, most of the other cool folks at least. Then there were the others, the less remarkable ones. They were gathered in small, static clusters, not moving about like the well-connected, beautiful people. And then there were the rest, the unfortunate ones clinging to their seats, hoping to avoid interacting with anyone. They were desperate not to stand out, fearing everyone could see through their facade of belonging, exposing their insecurities. Their fears were unfounded, though. Nobody really noticed them. They merely occupied space, making the place seem less empty for the confident ones to navigate around. Yeah, I was among them. Not the beautiful ones, not even the invisible, mediocre group. I was among those who truly felt out of place here. I had secured a spot at the bar, attempting earnestly not to make a fool of myself and to appear as though I was enjoying myself. The challenge, however, lay in the fact that deep down, I had absolutely nothing to occupy me besides grappling with my own insecurities. It was daunting. You can't just sit idly in a place like this. The thought of being caught doing nothing was mortifying, though thankfully no one seemed to notice me. A few friends had mentioned meeting here, and like a fool I had arrived, unaware it was one of those bars. To compound matters, my friends hadn't even shown up yet. So I clung desperately to my drink, watching the crowd, and trying to adopt the guise of a sophisticated observer, a man who knows his place in the background. Anything but the timid, self-conscious person I truly was, fearful of being exposed. I found myself wishing I possessed the looks, confidence, or charm of those people, the ones everyone admires. Take this guy, for instance. Towering well over 2 meters, blonde, bronzed, muscles bulging like the Hulk, and teeth so dazzling they could blind you temporarily. He made sure everyone noticed every inch of him, even his molars. Despite my appreciation for comic book heroes like him, I already resented him, mainly because I couldn't find a single flaw. Normally, you can console yourself by finding imperfections. Sure, she's beautiful, but she's selfish. Yes, he's muscular, but look at his teeth. Okay, he's handsome, but he's as smart as a loaf of bread and his hair is thin as can. The main issue lay with those who seemed effortlessly perfect like this guy. He was the epitome of charm and intelligence. Jerk. Why couldn't the genetic lottery distribute attributes a bit more evenly? And don't get me started on the stunning woman by his side. Any supermodel would feel inadequate and consider a career change upon seeing her. She wasn't just pretty. She was statuesque, like an Amazonian warrior. She wasn't merely pretty, she was a breathtaking goddess, and she clung to him as if he were the world's greatest gift. Damn, I really despised him. Both of them, actually. Shit, where were my friends? I still felt completely out of place there, as if I didn't belong in the same room with those people. I mean, just look at that butt. What woman could rightfully possess and flaunt such a rear in public? That butt alone was enough to drive lesser men mad, without even a hope of touching it and surviving the encounter. And to make matters worse, she wore ridiculously short, tight, hot pants. Have I mentioned how unfair life can be? I probably have. Glancing around, I saw that practically everyone was watching them. Not just the ordinary folks, but also the cool crowd. These two had clearly won the genetic jackpot, and I couldn't help but wonder what it must be like to live life as one of them, or even to be near one of them. And then things took a turn for the worse. Mr. Universe pivoted and surveyed the crowd. Invisible guys like me wilted under the scrutiny of the popular crowd. I felt the impulse to vanish, like a cockroach caught under a sudden beam of light. Surely he would detect my discomfort, my utter aloneness, the fact that no one spoke to me or even noticed me. I didn't belong here. Damn it, he would be right. Now he locked eyes with me, scanning my figure with his piercing blue eyes, and started to smirk. Jerk. I felt as if my mere presence here was a violation, tainting this trendy place with my nerdy, uncool aura. He tapped the shoulder of the Amazonian goddess beside him, and things immediately went from bad to worse. Pointing in my direction, he caught my gaze, and try as I might, I couldn't look away. Good Lord, she was stunning. Absolutely breathtaking. She glanced at me, then at him, back at me again, and frowned. I couldn't blame her. If I were her, I'd frown at the sight of me here too. Fortunately, she quickly averted her eyes and began conversing with her divine companion, shaking her head in apparent disagreement. They even appeared to engage in a mild argument, which surprised me. Shouldn't Olympian gods be above such petty disputes? They were supposed to observe mortals' antics with a disdainful smile. Realizing their lives were less than perfect gave me a slight yet undeniable sense of satisfaction. However, this satisfaction wasn't enough to make me abandon my fantasy of trading lives with them. I tore my eyes away from the couple posing as models and feigned interest in the bottles behind the bartender once more. I thought this would keep me inconspicuous until my friends finally decided to show up and we could escape to a better spot. "Excuse me." What a pleasant voice, unmistakably female. I decided to offer her the seat she was probably requesting before I even turned around. Damn, it was her. I felt the blood drain from my upper body and my ability to speak vanished. Was my brilliant response. "My name is Tina." And you are?" Right. You can have it." Now she looked puzzled. "The seat. You can have the seat." "What seat? I asked for your name." "What?" "Your name. You do have one, don't you?" "Thomas. Well, Tom. Everyone just calls me Tom." "Yeah, Tom." Her presence still had me a bit disoriented. "Okay, Tom. We're making progress here. I can feel it. You even managed to remember and say your name aloud." She chuckled softly, a surprisingly endearing sound that made her seem less intimidating. She almost appeared, well, human. Charming, even. I told myself to stop this. Don't let it turn into some cliché by getting infatuated or anything. "You know, Tom, we've hit a bit of a snag," a deep, distinctly masculine voice interrupted my trance-like focus. Her companion had joined us, unnoticed by me. Actually, everything around me had slipped my notice while she spoke. "I'm Ralph, Tina's husband. I love her dearly. And she just turned 25. I wondered briefly why he was telling me all this. You know how tough it can be finding the right gift for your woman. Not having much experience in long-term relationships, I wisely kept silent. Well, I kind of botched it. Bought her. Well, let's just skip that part. It was a joke of a gift, and well, she was pretty upset. Pissed. What? I was pissed, Ralph. Seriously pissed. Yeah, okay. Angry. She was really angry. So I sort of made her a promise. She could have any gift she wanted if I could arrange it. Well, financially, legally, and so forth, you know? Okay. That was all I had contributed to the conversation so far, desperately hoping I had concealed my growing confusion. I mean, why was this stranger telling me about his struggle to choose the right birthday present? And why was she looking at me with such anticipation? Hell, was this even real life right now? It certainly didn't feel like it. None of this made any sense. I half expected someone to shout, "Cut!" any moment, revealing me as a victim of a prank show. "And that's where you come in," he said. What? Could this evening get any weirder? Where were my friends when I needed them? I was frantically searching for an exit strategy now. Finally, I had found the flaw I had been looking for. These people were clearly insane. I've chosen my gift. Intimacy with another man just once. I'm glad I wasn't drinking when she said that. Thank goodness. Otherwise, I would have sprayed my drink all over the place. I was still coughing when she calmly continued. Ralph had to agree, of course. This wish clearly fell within the boundaries he had set. Defined limitations, I thought. This woman wasn't some brainless bimbo, but of course it was strange to discuss the possibility of getting married for the purpose of extramarital intimacy in this way. Yeah, I had to agree, though I didn't have to like it. My condition was that I could choose the guy and that I could watch the whole thing if I wanted to. Really? My short answers probably made them think I was a complete idiot by then. Of course. What did you expect? Of course I'm not going to force a man who could compete with me in something meaningful to engage in intimacy with her. You know, this isn't easy for me. But I know I messed up and this is part of my penance. I'm not going to let this jeopardize my marriage. So what I need is a completely unattractive man. Unattractive, ordinary, no charmer, no keeper. Basically no competition at all. What an odd story. But I finally understood why they were telling me this, and honestly, hearing the blunt truth laid out like that was quite offensive. You know, Tom, I agreed to Ralph's conditions. I was even surprised he agreed at all. Well, I was feeling relaxed at the time. Had a few drinks and felt bad about her gift. This is my way of making up for it. And you deserve it for that crappy gift, honey. Anyway, I agreed he could choose the guy and be there. But I had one condition too. The guy shouldn't be hideously ugly. Okay, but then why are you here with me? I blurted out. She looked at me surprised, then burst into laughter. She found it hysterically funny, but Ralph and I knew better. Ugly was just how I saw myself. Tina. She was still giggling. Tina? What? He's serious. What? Come on. You're not model material. I wish you were a bit taller. And, yeah, some more muscles wouldn't hurt. But Tom, you'll do. I'm not that picky, it's just a one-time thing. You'll do. You're not that ugly. Okay, but he's not exactly a heartthrob either. Exactly, Ralph. You wouldn't normally go for him, would you? What? No way. Regardless of whether it was true or not, the situation was becoming more and more offensive. Despite this, I endured and stayed put. It became clear to me that I had a small chance to get closer to this ideal woman. However, I refused to entertain the idea of making love to her. It seemed too unrealistic and would most likely lead to disappointment. A simple touch or even a kiss to her would be reward enough for putting up with this constant humiliation. Their intentions were transparent. She had every reason to put me in a negative light in order to reassure her husband. His motives were equally clear. He was not interested in praising someone who could pose a threat. These thoughts helped me maintain at least a little self-respect. But would you engage in intimacy with him? Well, he's not exactly the guy of my dreams, but he's quite enough. Okay, kid. Repeat after me. I'm an unattractive, weak guy who can't satisfy a real woman. I admit I couldn't wait to win the favor of this goddess, so I obeyed. I'm a weak guy who can't satisfy a woman. He smirked smugly, while she seemed slightly embarrassed. Wow, that's childish, honey. All right, Tina. I think I can accept that Tom is sleeping with you, even though it still hurts. Just don't forget to protect yourself, okay? I understand and really appreciate it. I know how much you love me and how strong you are. Tina, I still don't understand. Shouldn't you be satisfied with me alone? Wow, this guy suddenly seemed surprisingly insecure, almost whiny. I couldn't blame him. I would have been devastated in his place, although I was still a little puzzled. Ah, guys. Not now, Ralph dear. We can discuss this later. You have nothing to worry about. I am yours and I will remain yours. Guys. Yes, Tom? Asked Tina. What does all this really mean? It means you're going to get intimate with her, dude. Without making love. No romance, no candlelit dinners, no hugs, no kisses. No? What do you mean? They were both clearly shocked by my response, and frankly, so was I. I'm not interested in this. Are you crazy? I mentally scolded myself. But no, it won't work. Are you crazy? Or maybe are you gay? No, Ralph, I'm not gay. Have you seen her lately? She's incredibly attractive. Yeah, I've noticed. But it still won't work. At least not the way you've described it. No kissing, no cuddling, no romance. How is that supposed to work? So you need all that? Candles, kissing, cuddling? That's disgusting. I'm offering you the best intimacy of your life and you're fixating on such unmanly things? Are you sure you're not gay? Oh, right, you're just a wimp. Yeah, I can see you're into that sort of thing. Honestly, I wasn't sure what I was into. I wasn't a virgin, but at 24 I was far from a Casanova. My extreme shyness had kept me from using my equipment as intended, but I had read a lot about it, and I had watched quite a few educational videos online, for research purposes only, of course. He's right, Ralph. I don't love him, and I will never love him, but intimacy, as you describe it, won't work. Okay, have it your way, but I'll take care of her first. You'll get the second ones. Ralph, darling, that's the deal. It's better for you. He can watch and learn. She just rolled her eyes. Okay, let's just end this farce, okay? In any case, this little caricature of a man does not pose a threat to me. It seemed to me that he was whistling in the dark, but I was glad that he was acting like a jerk. It made everything mentally easier. It was a little awkward for me to engage in intimacy with a married woman. Okay, I'm in. But in terms of betting, I will take the initiative, I boldly stated. Agreed, she replied quickly, keeping a straight face. Great. Just great. His tone was dripping with sarcasm, which didn't help his image at all. But you're not doing it in our bed. I'd have to burn it afterwards, and it's practically new. So, where do you live, coward? Just a few 100 meters from here. Damn it. He seemed utterly miserable. I bet he regretted not choosing a better gift for her. Whatever he had given her, his punishment seemed excessively harsh. But then again, I didn't know them well enough to make a judgment. We walked to my nearby condo in tense silence. I led the way while he clung to her possessively. For such a macho guy, he was acting surprisingly clingy. She reciprocated his behavior, likely to reassure him. The elevator ride that followed felt like it lasted 5 hours, even though it was much shorter. The air was thick with tension as Tina and Ralph stood in opposite corners. No one spoke a word. Everyone stared at the floor or the ceiling, following the unwritten rule of elevators to avoid direct eye contact. I briefly glanced at Tina's beautiful eyes, and she gave a tense smile. She didn't seem excited about this situation, which only heightened my anxiety. The whole scene was utterly bizarre. After what felt like an eternity, the elevator doors finally opened, and Ralph and I tried to exit simultaneously. He took the opportunity to shove me roughly aside. I stumbled, desperately trying to maintain a shred of dignity by not falling to the floor. I barely managed it, but ended up embarrassing myself with a bizarre flailing of arms and legs. Tina gave me a look that was almost pained, while Ralph smirked. If all went well, I'd end the night having slept with a dream woman, though it would cost me the last of my self-respect. We entered my spacious living room, which offered a breathtaking view of the city. One wall was a single enormous window, giving the room the appearance of something straight out of a modern furniture catalog. I wasn't filthy rich, but I had a very nice income, a stunning condo, and the ability to work from home. Apart from lacking female companionship, my life was pretty good. Oh, wow. Both of them seemed quite impressed, though I couldn't fathom why. Indeed, this place was beautiful, but it belonged to an ordinary guy. They were the fortunate ones, the attractive people. They stood by the large panoramic window, gazing at the city lights, holding hands and sharing what appeared to be a romantic moment. I almost felt like an intruder in my own condo. Would anyone like something to drink? I decided it was time to break their reverie. Huh, what? Yes, Tom. That would be lovely. Do you have some white wine, perhaps? Sure. Beer. While I was bringing them drinks, I was trying to calm my nerves a little. I still felt that she was too beautiful to be with someone like me. I had a fleeting vision of how the universe would collapse if I touched it, as if some law of physics would be violated. To be honest, her very presence was also a little scary. I just hoped that this pressure wouldn't affect my performance later. Nice apartment. It seems like you don't belong here. Thanks. I tried not to pay attention to his rude remarks, believing that it was better not to give him any pleasure. Okay, let me give you a free lesson on how to properly please a woman. She seemed unhappy with his behavior but tolerated him, probably because she knew how difficult the situation was for him. Okay, please follow me to the guest bedroom. Not in the guest bedroom, kid, he said. What? I replied. We'll use your bed. He wanted to hurt me in any way he could, but I didn't care. I was going to sleep with his wife, the woman of my dreams, with his consent. With that in mind, I was mostly fine. Okay, follow me. My bedroom was much more impressive than the guest room, so I didn't mind his choice. There was a similar panoramic window with a view of the neighboring park. Since it was the top floor of the tallest building in the area, it still provided some privacy. The room also had a huge window with a transparent ceiling. On a cloudless night like this, you could see the stars and the moon from the bed. Ralph barely noticed it and began to prepare, but Tina was completely charmed. She just pointed at the ceiling with her mouth agape. It's so... Do you like it, Tina? Tom, I can't believe this. What is it? Honey, we can start right now. I'm going to show him how to make love to my woman. It's so beautiful, Tom. She seemed to have tears in her eyes. I've always admired this showcase and thought women would appreciate it too, but I've never had one here. Shyness, you know. Tina, hi. Are you with me? We can start right now. Oh yes, I'm sorry, Ralph. She started preparing. Whenever I see a woman, I can't help but imagine what the unseen parts of her look like. If I see a lovely mane from behind, I picture a beautiful face in front. The problem is that reality often does not correspond to these images. When a woman with a beautiful mane turns around, her face is often less perfect than I imagined. I was inclined to fill in the gaps with overly optimistic visions. This time, though, my imagination was spot on. Tina's body was absolutely spectacular. Unfortunately, Ralph's body was equally flawless and exceptional. It was clear that these two belonged together, both at the top of the gene pool. Their perfectly toned and muscled bodies looked like they were made for a sportswear catalog. Her physique and muscles were a bit intimidating, even though she wasn't taller than me, especially now that she had taken off her extremely high heels. His instrument was already ready, and he came up to me to demonstrate it. I wasn't interested, but out of politeness, I paid attention to him. Not bad, huh? I bet you can't compete with him, you weakling. What was he talking about anyway? It was a very ordinary tool. What was I supposed to say? Do you have a fine instrument, sir? It seemed completely inappropriate to me. Fortunately, he didn't seem to expect an answer. Then he motioned for her to come to my bed. I expected him to idolize this woman, to admire her, to please her in every possible way. That was my initial expectation. But the reality turned out to be completely different. He roughly turned her over. I was shocked. No kissing. Nothing at all. Straight to the point. What was he thinking about? How did he think it was going to work? Pretty soon this mystery was solved. She tried to hide her discomfort, but unlike him, I noticed it. Did he really not understand how to behave with a woman? Apparently not, as it continued to work like a steam engine piston. From a sporting point of view, his performance was undoubtedly impressive. However, this was not a movie, but real life, where the goal was not just to look good, but also to truly satisfy a partner. The realization that this was a lesson in how not to please a woman added to his poignancy. The fact that he was even looking for a mirror while immersed in himself was ironically appropriate. Tina smiled at him from time to time, although her satisfaction seemed as far away as the moon. Our eyes met for a moment, and at that moment I understood her despair. She was clearly dissatisfied, doubted herself, and probably never felt satisfied with him. Unexpectedly for myself, I felt sorry for her. I decided to spend as much time with her as possible, doing my best, using my limited experience to give her the experience she deserved, even though I doubted my abilities. A more experienced man might have been more suitable, but her options seemed limited. Finally, Ralph began to mumble. "Come on, Tina, I'm almost ready." Did he really expect her to end up with him? What kind of world did he live in? I couldn't help but admire her. She tried not to pretend, but she also didn't hide some pleasure. Obviously, she cared about him and didn't want to disappoint him. I doubted she needed to worry. His awareness seemed to be beyond such subtleties. As a result, he collapsed next to her. "Ah, that was great," he commented. She didn't say anything. "Okay, weakling, now it's your turn to be seconds. Let's see if you can do it again." He just rolled off the bed and headed for the bathroom, no longer paying attention to her. "I understand your dilemma," I whispered as soon as he left. "I love him. You know?" "Yes, I see it." Her eyes so beautiful, filled with tears. "I don't want to hurt him." "I know. But you have to be honest with yourself." "Yeah, I need to know," she said almost desperately. "It's not about this terrible gift. I'm not that shallow. I just need to know. Maybe I'm not the best option for you. I have little experience. You're my only option. To be honest, I'm surprised he agreed at all. And you probably have more experience than me. He's been my only friend so far." "Childhood friends?" "Yes." I swallowed hard. Their relationship was special, and I knew that what I was about to do could hurt them, leaving me feeling guilty. But I couldn't change anything or avoid it. She insisted on knowing, and I wanted to touch her, kiss her, and of course I wanted intimacy. As soon as he came out of the bathroom, she also got up to tidy herself up. "Tina, you have to see this bathroom. It's bigger than our whole apartment. Damn it." He waited until she was out of earshot. "Okay, dude, I'm out of here. I can't watch this. A real man shouldn't do that, remember, only once and under protection. She's all mine, and you'll spend the rest of your life dreaming about tonight, but it won't happen again. She wouldn't have fallen for you anyway. You know..." Oh, shit. He looked a little worried, turned around, and left the apartment. "Where's Ralph?" "He decided to leave suddenly." She appeared melancholy. "Yes, maybe it's for the best. I hate hurting him like this. But I need to know. I really do." "I understand. Come here, please." She obediently approached me, head slightly bowed. I gently lifted her chin and placed a tender kiss on her perfect lips. As I explored her body in reverie, I struggled to remove my clothes without clumsiness. Once free, she responded eagerly to my touch, which encouraged me. Despite my mostly internet-acquired knowledge, I felt I wasn't doing too badly. As always, thorough research had its advantages. We ended up on my bed, where I finally had the opportunity to fully explore her. It was obvious that she liked what I was doing. "Do it, please, please, Tom." Wow, this woman of my dreams practically begged me for it. Myself, to be precise. What a blow to self-esteem. I understood that these were extraordinary circumstances, and under normal circumstances she wouldn't even look in my direction. But I was determined to enjoy this experience for both of us. And yet I wasn't just going to be close to her. I was going to idolize her, looking into her eyes and admiring her flawless face. Surprisingly, she met my gaze without apparent disgust. "You know, you're not that unattractive." I wasn't sure if it was appropriate at that moment to discuss my far from perfect appearance. It could spoil the mood. "And I'm not?" "Not at all. You're not as flawless as Ralph. He's probably the most handsome man I've ever seen. But you're far from unattractive. With a little style, you could become quite attractive." "Oh." I thought it was just a way to spice up our conversation. "I let him tease you without protecting you, just to cheer him up. I'm sorry about that. It's really hard for him." "Yes, I understand. I'm sorry, I just had to say it. I like looking at you. You have beautiful eyes." "What?" I was confused. It was starting to seem unreal. My eyes were simple. With my eyes. "Now please continue. It's even better than I imagined. This is true." "Oh, Tom." To my surprise, she started crying, which confused me. It wasn't what I expected at all. After our short conversation, I continued the previous task to bring her back to the present moment, and it worked. Maybe I didn't have Ralph's physique, but maybe I was more sensitive and vulnerable. I was surprised at how easily I could recognize her reactions. She seemed almost transparent to me, allowing me to manipulate myself as a tool, responsive and beautiful besides. She looked at me seriously, took my face in her hands, and kissed me hard. Now I could feel her tears and my nose was wet. Reflecting on my life, I came to the conclusion that this was undoubtedly the most incredible moment I could remember. After a while, she loosened her grip on my head. Her gaze softened as she looked into my eyes almost tenderly. Suddenly, concern flashed across her face. Perhaps she realized how little I had done for my own pleasure so far. It seemed like half an hour before she finally let me go, and we lay side by side on the bed, completely exhausted. Looking at my watch, I was surprised to find that we had been doing this for almost an hour. Time flies by imperceptibly. Of course, this will not affect my future life in any way. After we relaxed a bit, her mood suddenly became a little serious. I felt like I knew what was bothering her. "Tina, you don't have to blame yourself." "I know." "Was it not what you expected?" "No, it wasn't like that. That's the thing, it was better, much better." "You really love Ralph, don't you?" "Yes, more than anything in the world." "And because you get such satisfaction from communicating with someone else, it seems to you that everything is even worse with him?" "Yeah, I've never had anything like this with him." I had no idea what everyone was talking about. "I suspected as much." "Did you have one?" "Well, the only reason for your unusual request, which caused pain to someone you undoubtedly love and jeopardized your marriage, must have been something really important." She just nodded. "Clearly you have strong feelings for him, which isn't surprising since he's such a perfect catch. So why would you even consider being intimate with someone like me? It seems the intimacy with him must be lacking if you're questioning yourself like this." "Yes," she cried, collapsing into tears. I tried to comfort her. "Tina, the issue definitely isn't you. You're a great lover, very responsive. But that doesn't fix the problem, does it? The man you love isn't meeting your needs. Now you know for sure, though you had doubts until today." She nodded sadly. "The problem is partly that he's selfish, which might improve with time and guidance. But the bigger issue is his outdated ideas about masculinity. Anything that pleases a woman he dismisses as unmanly. Changing that will be difficult. Maybe counseling could help." "I've suggested that before." "Let me guess. He doesn't see any issues in your relationship, thinks he's sane, and scoffs at counseling as weak?" "Yeah, pretty much." "So what's your plan?" "I don't have one. I fear he'll never change. Right now, I could leave him if I get too frustrated. But I love him too much to do that." Once we have kids, leaving will be even harder. I'm worried he'll care even less about my needs then. Don't worry too much. I doubt he could do any worse. She gave a short, bitter laugh. Yes, you're probably right, so what can I do? Nothing. I dream about this amazing night with you. Come to terms with the fact that the man I love is a terrible lover. Hey, this is confidential, okay? Yes, of course, don't worry, I'm not a jerk. I know. You know, Ralph's not that bad either. It's just that today he was offended and felt insecure. Yes, I thought so. So this is the end for us? Yes, Tom. Thank you very much. It was like a dream come true for me. It's the same here. Thank you. I'll never forget tonight. With tears in her eyes, she rushed to the bathroom, cleaned herself up, dressed quickly, and fled my apartment before I could say anything appropriate. I was surprised to realize that tears were streaming down my own face. Afterward, I lay awake for what felt like an eternity, grappling with the recent events. She was undeniably stunning, and undeniably skilled in bed. What truly surprised me was her openness and genuine kindness. She was incredibly likable. Strangely, I found myself relieved that I wouldn't see her again. I feared falling in love with her, knowing I could never truly have her. She was simply out of my league, perfect in every way, just like Ralph, except for one unfortunate flaw he possessed. I intended to categorize the whole experience as a bizarre yet pleasant one-time episode, something to cherish in memory. Yet I knew it wouldn't be life-changing or alter my worldview in any profound way. Of course, things didn't quite go as planned. The next morning, I found myself at the barber shop, getting a much-needed haircut. I had embraced my nerdy, unkempt appearance, but I soon realized it was just as absurd as Ralph's unconventional ideas about appropriate male behavior during intimacy. Neglecting my appearance wasn't a charming quirk. It was simply immature. By evening, I had a fresh haircut and new clothes. It was time for a change. Meeting Tina had served as a wake-up call. While my self-esteem had received a boost from recent experiences, I nearly managed to connect with girls I encountered in town on 2 occasions. Yet just as things seemed promising, I would hesitate too long or struggle to find the right words, inevitably sabotaging any potential progress. Though some of my self-doubt had faded, I remained painfully shy. 2 weeks after my eventful escapade, I found myself seated by the fireplace, fixated on the dancing flames that provided the sole illumination in my dimly lit abode. My mood was heavy. Despite my efforts, thoughts of Tina persisted unabated. It wouldn't have been so bad if she were merely beautiful and alluring. The true challenge lay in her unexpected depth, her sensitivity, kindness, and warmth. Damn. I couldn't stop replaying our passionate encounter in my mind, tormenting myself with each recollection. My melancholic reverie was abruptly interrupted by the doorbell. Not now. I couldn't bear to face anyone at this moment, especially not Tim. My friend who had unwittingly led me into this mess by failing to show up on time at the bar. The damn doorbell chimed again. Shit. It seemed I had no choice but to address it. With great reluctance, I finally dragged myself off the floor and trudged towards the insistent ringing. What was Tim up to? He was usually too spaced out to be in such a rush. I opened the door and was about to scold him when a tall, stunning woman suddenly rushed into my arms, almost knocking me down. The door closed behind her on its own, and soft lips pressed against my lips. A delicious fragrance filled my senses. All things considered, the situation could have been worse. "Don't talk," she muttered, breaking her own rule. "Let's just go to your bedroom." I just nodded. She was right, words were unnecessary. It was wonderful. She was having double fun. After cuddling and sharing a few kisses, we lay in bed in comfortable silence. I felt completely relaxed with her, no longer intimidated by her appearance. We were friends. However, something was bothering me, and eventually, I had to disrupt the relaxed atmosphere. "Tina, I don't feel right about being involved in cuckolding him. It's just not ethical and doesn't align with who I am." "Yeah, I feel awful about cheating on him, too. I truly love my husband. You know? I understand. He's been my best friend since childhood. He stood up for me against bullies in school. Okay. I could never leave him. Okay. Suddenly, tears welled up in her eyes. I have to go. She practically rushed out of my apartment once again. It was becoming a pattern. I felt foolish for spoiling the moment like this. I wasn't very surprised when she showed up at my doorstep about a week later. I didn't mind at all, since she'd been on my mind constantly during that time. I had spent most of my days staring out of windows or at walls, lost in daydream about her. After a warm greeting, we once more shared a passionate moment together, followed by a conversation where we expressed guilt about our actions. She spoke fondly of Ralph again, and I reiterated that I typically didn't get involved with married women. This discussion was starting to feel more like a ritual than a genuine exchange of truths. Her visits became increasingly frequent until we were making love almost daily. The quality of our intimacy didn't diminish. The excitement never waned. In fact, we grew closer, which enhanced our physical connection even more. Things heated up further. Despite my lingering guilt about the moral implications, I couldn't resist her. She was deeply conflicted and often in tears. We both acknowledged the wrongness of our situation, yet our affair had evolved into a long-term relationship. Another important event was our enjoyment of spending time together, not related to intimacy. We had fostered a casual, relaxed bond. Whenever she could be with me, usually when Ralph was absent, we cooked, watched movies, cuddled, and talked. We never appeared in public together for obvious reasons, but inside my condo we almost resembled a happy couple. We were just cooking lasagna. She playfully dripped some tomato sauce on my instrument, then licked it off. "Tina, you can do this any time. With or without sauce, okay?" "Yeah." Eventually, she stood up and leaned over the table, as if reaching for noodles. She lingered in this position, teasing me to see if I had any intentions. Grinning, I also took some sauce and splashed it on her. "Oh, I'm sorry. You're so clumsy," she teased, mimicking a reprimand. "It looks like you're going to have to clean it up now." "Yes, ma'am." While I was taking care of her and she was busy on the table, there was this infernal doorbell. "Tom, just ignore it, okay?" "Yeah." I continued my work. That damn doorbell again. "Open the damn door." The voice was slightly muffled by the door, but we both recognized it immediately. I looked at her questioningly and she nodded sadly. "Tom, let's at least get dressed, okay?" "Good idea." We hurriedly dressed, she in her arrival outfit, I in casual sweatpants. With my heart pounding, I opened the door. Tina was nowhere to be seen. She had retired to the bedroom. "Ralph." "Tom." He seemed visibly agitated. "Is Tina here?" "Ralph, what do you want?" "Tina!" he shouted, ignoring my question. I was about to let him go when, to my surprise, she appeared behind me. "I'm here." His anger dissipated instantly. It was painful to watch. I saw his spirit crumble right in front of my eyes. So, it's true. He was on the verge of tears, and for some reason that would have been the worst outcome. I desperately hoped he would spare us that. I also wished Tina would deny everything, if only for his sake. Maybe spin some story about us just being friends. Yes. Ralph was just as shocked by that admission as I was. What did it signify? Why did she want Ralph to know about us? Was she trying to come clean? Or perhaps pressuring herself to end things with me this way? Did she even intend to break it off with Ralph, though it seemed unlikely? "You idiot. You are a dirty, adulterous, treacherous woman," he said with a strangely sorrowful voice. "I know," she replied sadly. "You heartless, cheating, worthless." I sensed his mood shifting. This was a desperate man, and anger was building. "I know. I'm sorry." "Sorry? Sorry? What does that even mean?" "It means nothing. It changes nothing. What are you sorry for anyway? For sleeping with him? For screwing that pathetic skinny joke? No. No? What does that mean? I'm sorry for hurting you. You're worthless. A disgusting, worthless girl of easy virtue, he was now shouting. I was relieved that the offices beneath my apartment were empty at this time of day. Ralph, I regret hurting you, but I don't regret being with Tom, she said calmly. Despite the harshness of her message, her words were gentle, as if consoling a cherished child. It was clear she empathized deeply with the man she loved. Yet she had chosen honesty. I admired her sincerity but questioned its wisdom. While I pondered, something suddenly struck my chin, knocking me backwards. He finally hit me, I thought, surprised he had focused on her for so long. Knowing he would never strike her, I was the inevitable target. As I fell, I caught her concerned expression from my new vantage point on the ground. I'm sorry, Tom. This is all my fault, she apologized as Ralph began kicking me. She physically intervened, pleading, Leave him alone, Ralph. Why should I, you disgrace? Why should I lift a finger for you? Stop this or I'll stay here today, she said calmly, despite the chaos around us. I had to admire her composure. She was the person you'd want in an emergency. Her words halted him instantly. Why should I give a damn? He spat back. She approached him and embraced him. He began to sob uncontrollably, a sight that pained me deeply. Being struck was almost par for the course in his world of machismo, but seeing such a tough guy cry was truly unsettling. It's okay, Ralph. I love you. It's okay, she reassured him in a soothing voice. Don't leave me, Tina. Please don't leave me. He seemed so vulnerable compared to this strong woman. It was clear why he feared losing her. Tom, we'll be in the guest bedroom if that's all right with you. Ralph and I need to talk privately. Sure, I managed to say hoarsely. I checked my face and was relieved that I wasn't seriously injured. Strangely, I almost wished I had been. It might have eased my overwhelming guilt. I didn't like Ralph, but what Tina and I were doing was undeniably wrong. We were cheating, no doubt about it. After about 30 minutes, they reappeared. Ralph seemed somewhat composed again and even appeared slightly embarrassed. Tom, I can't see you anymore, Tina announced, addressing my shoes. I had anticipated this, but hearing it was still disheartening. I understand. I promised Ralph. He wants to forgive me, and we truly love each other. I'm going to be the perfect wife from now on. Ralph nodded firmly in the background, though it seemed somewhat unnecessary. All right. Our marriage needs healing. I have to work hard to earn back his trust. I'll miss you, but we can't see each other anymore. Never again. It's over between us. Okay, Tina, I get it. I wasn't feeling good about this anyway. Best of luck with your marriage. I'll miss you. Take care. She left, trying to conceal her tears from Ralph. I wasn't feeling great either. If I were honest, I knew I was going to miss her terribly. The time ahead was going to be really tough, incredibly tough, in fact. For a few weeks, I was feeling melancholic and barely went out of my apartment. Besides working from home, my days consisted solely of reading, cooking, working, and sleeping. I felt deeply unhappy and began to recognize that my feelings for her had grown stronger than I had realized. She occupied my thoughts incessantly, and I longed for her intensely. Let's face it, I had fallen completely in love with a married woman. The worst had come to pass. 4 weeks of utter misery passed since our last farewell when my doorbell unexpectedly rang. Tina. I was stunned. Tina! I exclaimed with joy. I wanted to leap up and break into a victory dance just at the sight of her again. She silenced me with a finger to my lips. As instructed, I stayed completely silent, though it was a struggle. I felt like bursting with happiness, as if a vital part of me had finally returned. Describing the subsequent intimacy as amazing would be an immense understatement. Tina was incredibly passionate and determined to make up for lost time. Throughout, she held on to me tightly and often locked eyes with me. It was magical. I had hoped she would stay a while afterward for some relaxed time together. But that wasn't her intention. She gave me a serious look and gestured for silence. I wisely stayed quiet as I watched her shower, dress, and leave without a single word spoken. Strange, but certainly better than nothing. Our intense affair reignited completely over the next few weeks. I still felt guilty about the whole situation, but I couldn't resist her. She appeared to feel even worse, yet was unable to stop herself either. We were simply committing adultery, which contradicted both of our moral principles. Initially, our encounters involved silent intimacy, as if that somehow justified the betrayal. After a few meetings, that restriction dissolved and everything returned to the way it was before. If you could even call what we were doing normal. This time, Ralph seemed oblivious, but that didn't ease my conscience much. 2 months had passed since we reignited our forbidden romance, and a routine had formed. Saturdays were our primary rendezvous, coinciding with Ralph's soccer games and subsequent hangouts with his friends. These moments were cherished, offering us a few hours to be together in a relaxed manner. Additionally, she managed to slip away for lunch breaks quite frequently, typically 2 or 3 times a week. My life revolved around 2 things: time spent with her and the agonizing wait in between. Today was Saturday, and I anticipated her arrival around 10 in the morning. By 11, worry crept in. By noon, I was a bundle of nerves. We had agreed that I wouldn't call her under any circumstances, so all I could do was occupy myself with fearful thoughts. Was she reconsidering our affair? Had something happened to her? The uncertainty gnawed at me. No one would inform me either way. Around 1 o'clock, the doorbell finally rang. I would have preferred if she had a key, but she feared Ralph discovering it. I hurried to the door and found her standing there, looking sorrowful and tear-streaked. "Tina, come here, what's wrong?" I embraced her and waited until her crying subsided. "We really hurt him." "Oh, damn, he found out." "Yes. So are we ending things again?" "No." "No?" I felt a surge of hope. Was this a sign of commitment to me? Had she decided to leave Ralph? He was furious. He wanted to walk out on me right then and there. I was devastated, but I agreed that it was something we needed to talk about. He didn't expect that response, and it completely threw him off. His anger melted away instantly, and he started pleading with me not to leave him. It was awful. This once handsome and proud man reduced to a pitiful mess by the conniving, namely me. And her accomplice, namely me. We locked eyes. Neither of us felt proud of what had transpired. "Yes, specifically you," she said with a weak smile. It was, well, let's just say I felt incredibly guilty. Here was the man I loved, destroyed by my selfish actions. And then it got worse. He actually suggested sharing me with you as long as I didn't leave him completely. Oh shit. I knew that was bad, but deep down I couldn't help but feel a sense of elation. This could mean more of her time for me, yet that nagging guilt persisted. Yeah, shit. I asked him if he truly wanted an open marriage, if he wanted to see other people as well, and if he was okay with me being with other guys. Other guys? A cold chill ran down my spine. Jealousy. Seriously. Am I a jealous cheater? How hypocritical is that? Relax, I won't. I just wanted to understand his intentions. It appears he wants to salvage our relationship as much as possible, hoping this is just a phase. The sticking point seems to be me continuing to live in our apartment with him. He suggested that he might agree to share me with you if he had most of my time and we continued to use contraception. What? Yeah, I know, he thinks we do. Let's not discuss that, please. I feel bad about not correcting him, though it's more a lie of omission. But the real issue is, he doesn't want to be a cuckold. That's his biggest fear. I wasn't very familiar with that term and he explained it to me. He said this problem would be solved if we got a divorce. I really don't understand. He wants to save our relationship by divorcing me? It seems to be some kind of pride issue for him. Whether he's cuckolded or not seems more important than staying married to me. I have no idea what he's thinking. I think he's just confused and overwhelmed. I've heard of it. About what? That whole cuckold situation. It seems everyone has a slightly different definition, and for many guys, being labeled as one is the ultimate humiliation. Ralph seems to think being married is a prerequisite to earn that dreaded title. So he's probably trying to shed that label without losing you. In a twisted way, it almost makes sense. I can't help but feel sorry for him. Yeah, so that's how it's going to be. What? Really? Can we start openly seeing each other? Yes and no. Not publicly, of course. No one should know about our affair or the impending divorce. Again, appearances and public image seem to matter to him. Under these conditions, he's okay with us spending some limited time together. He hopes our affair will lose its illicit thrill and fizzle out soon. How do you feel about that? It's pretty awful. My marriage just ended. I've wrecked things with the man I thought was my soulmate. I see. I didn't like the sound of that. But then again, I've gained more time with the other man I care about. Really? That sounded much better to me. Absolutely silly. Needless to say, we made love after that. We spent the rest of Saturday together in our usual casual manner, until she returned to Ralph's late at night. It was always hard for me to watch her leave, but this time it was even harder. I used to be her lover while she was returning to her husband, and home. Now, with our new relationship, I felt I had a right to a part of her life almost as a legal spouse to the same extent as Ralph. As comforting as that thought was, it also intensified my struggle to come to terms with the fact that she had returned to him for the night. Why couldn't she stay with me? Jealousy began to seep into me, and the realization of my own hypocrisy as a jealous deceiver only made the situation worse. We continued this arrangement in the weeks that followed. I credited Ralph for seeing the divorce through. He deeply loved her, but couldn't bear being betrayed. Unable to convince her to change, he steadfastly pursued what he saw as the only solution: divorce. Tina assured me it pained him greatly. It hurt her too, as she still loved him and despised causing him such pain. He was devastated, yet tried his best to reconcile. Witnessing this was as difficult for her as for him. I feared losing her amidst this turmoil, but was relieved she kept seeing me. She spent Saturdays at my place, returning to him in the evenings for clubbing nights. She avoided being seen with me publicly to spare him humiliation, which bothered me, though she eventually offered to spend 2 nights a week with me. Those nights were magical for me, but surely torturous for Ralph. Sometimes things were awkward when she first arrived. I knew Ralph must have been shattered seeing her leave, and guilt ate away at her. Yet we found solace in our intimacy, which seemed to ease the pain. You know, Tina, these overnight bags are really inconvenient, I remarked one Tuesday morning as she packed before heading to work. Yeah, tell me about it. Packing is such a hassle, and I always end up forgetting something, she sighed. Look, there's plenty of space in my closets, I suggested. What? Come see. I led her to my walk-in closet and showed her how empty it looked with just my few clothes inside. I still can't believe how huge this closet is. Exactly. There's more than enough space even for a beautiful woman's wardrobe. Tom, are you suggesting I keep some of my stuff here all the time? Yes. She smiled brightly. Deal. Really? Wow, that was easier than I expected. Sure. Hoo-hoo. Yes. This was it. The first step to her moving in with me. But darling? What? Had she just called me darling? My bloodstream was flooded with endorphins at this point. I don't even have that many clothes. What? My speech was still a bit muddled from the natural chemicals in my system. I barely have enough clothes as it is. Sure, who does? Smartass. Seriously, if I split what I have between your place and mine. Ralph's place now, actually. I won't have enough at either. I need some clothes for work at both. She referred to her former home as Ralph's place. This was getting more interesting by the second. Well then, looks like we need to do some serious shopping. No problem. Tom, I know you're pretty well off. I assume you're not worried about money, but I'm not so lucky. I simply can't afford that many new clothes. I was still feeling elated. What? That's the least of our worries, all right? She was starting to appear a bit irritated. Tom, I really don't have that kind of money. My account is almost maxed out. You have separate accounts? Yeah, we always have. It seemed fairer this way. He likes to spend his money on completely different things. I understand. How much do you owe? Tom, I'd rather not say. It's a lot, and I'm not proud of it, and I'm afraid you... Come on, I cut her off. About 8,000, she admitted shyly. I couldn't help it. I had to laugh. Fool, that's not funny. I never know if I'll get any cash at the ATM. That sucks. All right, give me your account number. I don't want your money, she said, stubbornly, proudly, and beautifully. I needed to think fast. This isn't charity. What do I have to do? Remember, I'm not here for the money. I am not a woman of easy virtue, she said, still uncertain. I had to handle this diplomatically. This could easily go very wrong. I'll transfer some money and use it to buy something. You'll just need to assist me with the actual purchase. I want a complete set of women's clothes, toiletries, cosmetics, everything. All of it will stay here at my place, and it'll remain my property. You can use it occasionally. Ah. Her face lit up. That was an arrangement she could agree to. A shopping spree of that scale was certainly irresistible to her. And I also expect some nice lingerie. Okay. She was clearly warming up to the idea. And Tina, yes? I don't want you to struggle financially. I'll transfer a little more to help with your account. Not too much, just to ease your worries, okay? I don't want you stressed all the time. Okay, she said, smiling shyly like a little girl. Man, I could really get used to her. So many facets to one woman, so intelligent, vibrant, full of emotions. Damn, I realized once again that I was completely in love with her. My mind was still racing, so I just blurted it out. Tina, I love you. What? She was clearly taken aback. What did this mean? Had I messed up? She looked almost like she was going to cry. Sorry, maybe I shouldn't have said that. You goofball. Oh my God. She hugged me tightly and showered me with kisses. I have to go to work now. Okay. I had anticipated various reactions, but certainly not that. See you tomorrow, honey. Honey? Seriously? Oh, and by the way, I love you too. And with that, she was gone. I, on the other hand, was still in shock. Had I really just confessed my love to her? I had known it for a long time, but I'd always avoided saying it, afraid of scaring her off with that kind of commitment. And had she really not only accepted my confession, but also replied that she loved me too? Wow. I practically floated through the rest of the day. The next afternoon, Tina arrived at my doorstep with a radiant smile. Let's go. Hey, Tina, what a pleasant surprise. What's the plan? I asked, keeping a straight face and pretending not to know. Come on, you jerk. She playfully punched my arm. Let's go. I want to do some serious shopping today. Get moving, lazy. I cautiously followed her out of the building. For some reason, I felt exposed, like in those dreams where you realize you're not wearing pants and everyone is staring. The difference was, this wasn't just my imagination. Well, I was wearing pants, but it seemed like everyone was indeed looking at us. Eventually, I relaxed, realizing this was just what it was like to be seen with someone as stunning as Tina. It was just unfamiliar territory for me. Besides the curious stares, something else felt off. It was like stepping out of the safety of my cave into an open field, feeling vulnerable in a way I'd never experienced leaving my building before. Then it struck me. I was in public with Tina. I was doing something that had been strictly forbidden for months. I was breaking a taboo. Meanwhile, Tina was completely unfazed and in high spirits. A few hours later, I returned with my car fully loaded and Tina in high spirits. Just seeing her like this filled me with immense happiness. "La la la, somebody is going to get lucky tonight," she sang. Her singing wasn't exactly my taste, but the lyrics seemed fine. "Are you staying the night?" "Of course I want to spend the night with the man I love." But not the only man, I thought, wisely keeping quiet. Standing in my kitchen sipping soda, an idea struck me. I searched through a drawer and silently handed her a key. "What's this?" "It's called a key." "Smartass?" She laughed. "What does that mean?" "It means you live here now." Suddenly unsure, I worried how she'd react. Was I being too forward, pushing her away? "Well, sometimes, at least," I backtracked. "As much as you want, of course. Anyway, you should have a key." I had to pause before I started stuttering. "Okay." She took it casually. It seemed no big deal to her, but to me, it signaled she was gradually becoming mine. I felt she was 40% mine and 60% Ralph's at that time, judging by how she split her time between us. Gradually, we managed to fill the space in her closet, and she even began to give my apartment a feminine look. Despite this, our bed life remained wonderful, and we avoided any problems related to Ralph. However, everything changed a few months after she received her key. When she entered our apartment, she looked visibly upset. "What a jerk," she exclaimed. "What's wrong, honey?" "Ralph. He's dating someone else." "Oh." What else could I say? Their divorce was finalized, and unlike her, he kept his marriage vows. He was completely innocent of the whole complicated love triangle. I think he only did it to make me jealous. Did it work? Of course not. He can... Oh, shit. I don't know. I still love him, you know? "I know," I replied sadly. "I'm sorry, but it's so hard for everyone. But he doesn't deserve it. We deserve it." "I know. Although sometimes he really drives me crazy. What if he loves her? What if she was made for him?" "That would be perfect," I thought, trying to keep a straight face. "Does she spend nights at his place?" I intentionally referred to his place. "Yeah, I think she does whenever I'm here. I wouldn't mind if you spent more time here with us." "So, is this our place then?" "Yes. This is your home as much as it is mine." "That's really sweet. But you know I still love Ralph. I can't just break up with him like this." "Have you thought about using protective equipment?" "What? Why?" "I'm on birth control." "Sure, but you don't know this woman. She may be too active. It's a matter of health." Okay, I was tactless. I knew that offering to use protection might reduce her interest in intimacy with Ralph. I hoped they might encourage her to be with me instead. And we should have used them from the start. Oh, I understand now. Damn. He might be putting all three of us at risk this way. Well, I can't really confront him about it. He's probably doing it just to upset me and make me jealous. I don't want him to think it's working. Okay, then please use contraception with him. I don't want to start using them with you. Oh, no, of course not. Even now, I don't have intimacy with him that often. We're more like siblings at this point. Damn it. It was really hard to hear that they were close. Just thinking about it made me feel sick. But I had to remember our story. I was having an affair, so I had no right to be jealous. I needed to be patient and gradually win her over. I knew from the very beginning that it would not be easy, but I was determined to make my dream come true. She spent more time with us than with him, and it felt like a small victory. But Tom, it's still hard for me to see him disappear into his room with that woman. In his room? Yes, we had separate rooms after the divorce. Wow, this is getting more interesting, I thought as we headed into the bedroom to have some fun. The bed seemed to attract us like a magnet, and today was no exception. After that, I couldn't resist blurting it out again. Tina, I love you. I know, I love you too. That's why it's so difficult. I love Ralph too. Yes, I understand. Tina, I'm happy with our relationship, I lied. But it bothers me a little that you still don't dare to go out with me in public, especially in the evenings. You're still dating him exclusively. Tom, I don't do much intimacy with him. He tries his best to perform because he knows that I like it better with you. But socially, I like his company. I feel like I owe him for that. Okay, I understand. I realized that my jealousy was getting stronger. It seemed like she was dating Ralph now. But I can also be seen with you. It's not that I'm ashamed of you. You're not that unattractive, in fact, you're pretty cute. I know. But I'm not as attractive as he is. Don't ask me to lie to you. Ralph is probably the most handsome man I've ever seen. I know. Now I felt very depressed, even though it was true. Don't get upset. I love you. Yes, I know. But do we really need to continue to engage in intimacy with him? Yes. If he wants to, I won't refuse him. I owe him, don't I? Yes, maybe you're right. But it still hurts. In any case, this rarely happens. I endured it as usual. The long-term objective was crucial. Yet, when she left her apartment to spend the night with her other man, it nearly tore me apart. I could empathize with how Ralph must have felt upon discovering us. The pain was intense. I spent that night fearful that she might choose him again, anxious that he might finally improve his lovemaking skills, which left me uncertain about my prospects with her. I envisioned what they might be doing at that moment. Kissing, in bed together, her whispering sweet nothings in his ear. In essence, I endured a mostly sleepless night filled with fear and jealousy, a familiar sensation whenever she was with him. It was truly draining. I felt like the betrayed husband by then, and it was anything but enjoyable. A few weeks later, my frustration reached its peak. She had gradually reduced her nights at Ralph's place to just 1 or 2 per week. It eased my pain slightly, but it was still tough to handle. I tried not to dwell on how Ralph must have felt as he slowly lost her. My priority was clear, and sparing his feelings wouldn't further my goal. Feeling confident enough to take a risk, I decided to broach the subject. Tina, what are your thoughts on us being exclusive? Aren't we already? Or are you seeing someone else? No, I'm not, but you are. What? I get it now. Well, I hardly sleep with him anyway. But if he wants me, I'm there. I owe him that much, and I still care for him. You knew what this was from the start. I see. So, it's okay if I have someone on the side too? What? No. Her expression turned angry, then softened as she grasped the situation. I don't know. I don't know. We have to remember, officially, we're the ones in the wrong. I was married to Ralph. In a way, I'm still his. I've hurt him, and he's done nothing wrong. I think I still love him. Yeah, I understand. But it still hurts. Yeah, just like we've hurt him. Tina, you're not suffering here at all. You have 2 men to choose from. That's not true. It kills me to hurt Ralph. And I feel like I'm cheating on both of you. I feel like I'm always betraying someone. Then why not end it with Ralph? You're practically living here. I can't. He still hopes we'll reconcile, and I still have some feelings for him. Damn. Yeah. For a few weeks, there wasn't much change. Sure, she started spending more time with me in public, and even introduced me to some of her friends, which meant a lot. But fundamentally, nothing shifted. She still met Ralph at least once a week. It felt like she was betraying me, and it was tearing me apart. I felt it was time for a drastic move. Call me selfish, but I decided to leverage my resources to win her over. It might have been unfair, but too much was on the line. I knew she had a 2-week break coming up soon. I figured neither she nor Ralph could afford anything extravagant, but she had started planning a few short trips with both of us. Tina? The atmosphere was relaxed as we cuddled on my sofa, watching some mindless show on TV. Yeah? Her response was absent-minded. You've got those 2 weeks off soon. Yeah, starting next week. Well, I've already booked a little trip for us. Oh, you've already booked something? Shouldn't you have asked? Maldives, I cut her off. Yeah, talk about unfair. What? She looked incredulous. 2 weeks, water bungalow, nice resort, all-inclusive. Woo-hoo. She tested the strength of my ribcage with her enthusiastic hug. I can't believe. Tom, you're crazy. I've always wanted... seriously? Maldives? I know you've mentioned it. I couldn't help but feel a bit smug. That move had definitely worked. The night that followed turned out to be, interesting. Exhausting, actually. Did I feel like I was buying her? Maybe a little. Did it deter me? Not at all. This was pivotal for my entire life, and I wasn't going to play fair. I was determined to win over the woman I loved, no matter what it took. Tom, I'm really looking forward to this. Oh. What? I had planned to go to Hamburg with Ralph to visit his sister. I see. Should I cancel? Don't you dare. We'll just visit her later. It's going to be tough to explain this to Ralph. These 2 weeks will be pure hell for him. Yeah, I understand. I managed to look sympathetic, but somehow she broke the news to poor Ralph. I was relieved not to be there. Unexpectedly, she spent the night after discussing it with Ralph in our apartment instead of his, as originally planned. I didn't dare ask for details, and even better, she didn't return to him until we left for the Maldives. He probably wasn't thrilled, but I certainly was. The vacation was like a perfect dream. I was the object of envy among all the men present. Naturally, we were intimate, indulged in amazing food, and spent much of our time diving, snorkeling, and engaging in our usual indoor activities. I cherished the relaxed moments we shared after making love. We cuddled on a love seat on the deck overlooking the sea, her hair gently tousled by the warm breeze. It was an absolutely perfect setting, which made me decide to bring up something potentially disruptive. Tina, I've been thinking... Yeah? Well, what do you think about spending all your nights in our apartment? I do prefer it there, but what about Ralph? I really want us to have a normal relationship. Exclusive. I want you just for myself. She looked at me with a difficult-to-read expression. Oh, Tom, honey, I'd really love to, she replied, though uncertainty tinged her voice. Just do it. But what about Ralph? You need to let him go. He deserves to move on. You're holding him back. She pondered this for a while. Maybe you're right, she finally answered. It's better this way. We need to stop causing pain. You have to stop giving him false hope. He still believes he can win you back, and that's just cruel. To my relief, she nodded. I understand you want to be gentle with him, but you're only prolonging his suffering. You're right. I was relieved she seemed to agree to end his agony without considering leaving me. But then she started to cry. But it's so difficult. This truly is the end for Ralph and me. We had plans for kids, for growing old together. It feels wrong to leave him like this. Just for intimacy? Oh no, don't ever think that way. I'm not just with you for the sake of intimacy. You're so much more lovable than he is. You're caring, empathetic, nice, mature. I enjoy being intimate with you, but I wouldn't be here if that were all it was. I'm not that shallow. I love you for who you are. I love spending time with you. I need you. Same here. Okay, Tom? From now on, you're my man. My only man. You have exclusive rights to my body and soul." It sounded cheesy, but her tears made it genuine. I was moved too, and with a shaky voice I could only manage a heartfelt yes without feeling embarrassed. Fortunately, I wasn't there for Ralph's final showdown. I really didn't envy him. Enduring the gradual loss of a woman like Tina over such a long period must have been agonizing. She later confided in me that it was truly dreadful. He cried, begged, knelt down, swore, never to meet another woman again, even claimed that they had never had intimacy. Unfortunately, the last part seemed plausible. We gradually undermined this man's sense of confidence. When Tina returned, visibly disturbed with the rest of her belongings, there was no intimacy that evening. I simply held her and comforted her through her tears. So, had I won? Yes. Was it easy? Far from it. The issue was that she still had feelings for another man, and both of us began our relationship as cheaters. Morally, our foundation was shaky, but most importantly, doubts lingered. Was she still secretly meeting Ralph? Did she miss him? Could he satisfy her now that he was the affair instead of the betrayed husband? I started following her occasionally, and to my dismay, I discovered she was indeed still seeing Ralph. Yet I had no access to his apartment and couldn't shadow her constantly. If she ever found out I was monitoring her, it would cause chaos and I might lose her again. My options were limited. All I witnessed were seemingly innocent lunch breaks without even a proper kiss. Still, fear and jealousy consumed me. What if she was cheating on me with him? The thought was unbearable. My fear grew stronger when I coincidentally met some acquaintances who knew her and were convinced she was still with Ralph. Suddenly, the tables had turned completely. We were now living together as a couple, with Ralph becoming a threat to our relationship. I constantly feared that his skills in bed might improve over time with enough motivation. If he matched my abilities, I worried she wouldn't need me anymore. He was more attractive and bigger, and she still admitted loving him. These thoughts were like an irrational, but they tormented me. I always had these tears during intimacy that started to diminish my pleasure. The consequences of karma were becoming clear. The situation was far from ideal, but what could I do? Confront her? Risk pushing her back to Ralph? No, it was safer not to rock the boat. She didn't know I suspected her of cheating, and so far life was tolerable, if not good. The problem was Ralph had tried a similar strategy of denial when they were together, and it hadn't worked for him. This was driving me crazy. After weeks of mounting insecurity, I could barely tolerate it anymore. "Tom, darling, how do you feel about starting a family?" Wow, that came out of nowhere. Tina. I'm not sure." "What? Is it because we're not married?" "Tom, I'm ready to change that whenever you want." "No, it's not because of that. It's because you're still involved with Ralph, and I wouldn't know if I'm the father." And just like that, the truth was out. I had stirred things up, and now I nervously waited to see what would happen next. She stared at me in shock and abruptly left the room. Damn. Had I lost her? She returned a few minutes later, tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Tom. I'll stop seeing him. At least without you. Without me. I'm not interested in guys." "What? Do you really think I'm still sleeping with him?" "Well, yeah. Kinda. You can't be that dense. I promised to be faithful to you, and I intend to keep that promise. Yes, I've had a few lunches with him. I felt I owed him that much, but I'm committed to you." For some reason, I believed her. "I'm sorry, Tina. But you understand why I might have doubts, given our history. Yes, I've made mistakes. I have to live with that reputation, but I never lied to Ralph. I didn't tell him about meeting you, but I never directly lied to him. and now I'm telling you that I'm faithful to you." I felt foolish at that moment, but I also sensed a tremendous burden lifted from my shoulders. We were both still dealing with the aftermath of betraying Ralph. "So you're going to stop seeing him?" "Probably. Do you think I should? If you can, why haven't you already? I have to assume you still have feelings for him." "Tom, darling, Ralph and I have been together forever. Everyone, including us, thought we were meant for each other. Our future together seemed assured. We've been friends for ages. We were each other's firsts, and we were supposed to grow old together. I always thought I loved him. But it turns out I did to some extent. It wasn't until I met you that I truly understood real love. And it's not just about physical attraction. With Ralph, I have camaraderie, friendship, affection. I care about him, and you could say I love him like a brother. But with you, it's a deep, genuine love. So of course I can stop seeing him if I need to. You've won my heart completely. I kept seeing him more out of obligation than love. I think he loves me as deeply as I love you, and I've tried to let him down gently." "I understand." I felt such relief. "Don't you think you're making it harder for him this way? He might still hope to win you back. It must be torture for him." "Yes, you're probably right. I knew this too, but I was too weak to end it completely." "Good," I said, though it probably wasn't appropriate as I found myself smiling broadly. She was finally mine, completely and truly. I felt muscles relax in my body that I hadn't even realized were tense. A sense of contentment washed over me. "Tom, would it be all right if I saw him occasionally?" "Without anything intimate, of course, and with you present," she added quickly. "Well, considering your past, I'd rather you didn't. I have to admit it makes me uncomfortable, but I understand if you feel you need to," I replied. "Thank you so much for agreeing to this and for forgiving me for seeing him in secret," she said. What choice did I have? Among our circle of habitual cheaters, I couldn't blame her for something so minor, could I? In the weeks that followed, we lavished each other with care. We were incredibly thoughtful during intimate moments, exchanged small gifts, brought coffee to bed. The whole 9 yards. My goal was to ensure she wouldn't glance at Ralph again. As for her motivation, I wasn't sure. Perhaps guilt, asserting her territory, making sure I wasn't suspicious. Whatever it was enjoyable for a time, but it became a bit overwhelming. Eventually, we both dialed it back, and our relationship settled into a stable, long-term commitment. We were seated at the breakfast table on a beautiful Saturday morning. "Yes, Tina," I unexpectedly replied. "What?" "I agree. Honey, what are you talking about? You proposed to me, remember?" Her face lit up brightly. "Seriously? You'd marry a cheater like me?" "Tina, let's not dwell on that. Neither of our pasts are flawless. Boy, you won't regret this." I couldn't stop grinning foolishly. "I'll be faithful to you. You don't have to worry." I know, but I didn't. Maybe that's exactly what she had promised Ralph, too. "I'll make sure you won't regret this, Tom." 6 years and 2 children later, I still haven't changed. She continues to spoil me, and I do the same for her. However, I'm not naive. Without discussion, we've enabled smartphone tracking for each other. Occasionally, I discreetly check her emails and phone. So far, she has remained faithful. Our marriage began with infidelity, a flaw that lingers. Officially, Ralph has accepted the situation. Much to my dismay, he visits us often with his new wife and child. We strive to maintain civility, but tension fills the room in his presence. I notice his covert glances toward her, which unsettles me deeply. Remembering our history, I make every effort to satisfy her both in bed and in other ways. Dissatisfaction in her previous relationship led her away from Ralph, and I am determined not to repeat that. Despite Lingering, likely unfounded doubts I am starting to believe. I have won over the woman of my dreams from a more attractive man, albeit compromising my moral standards. Was it worth it? Hell, yes.